right, let's get it started in here. Nerd.
Blah, 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 blah. All of that chit-chat's gonna get you hurt.
I'll bring you in warm. Or I can bring you in cold.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Toss a coin to your witcher, a friend of humanity.
Thank you.
Let me just restate that real quick. No. So we found each other on Instagram, and you mentioned that you were having seizures, and Johnny and I were both like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, I knew what seizures were, Jay.
And that's when we kind of heard your story, and then we started talking a lot because we started talking about all the different nerd things we love. But why don't you tell us your story real quick?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I'll try to abbreviate it. It's like a crazy long story. So I'm a competitive runner, or I was, when this happened. I grew up running and was recruited to run in college, and I got a full ride to run cross country and track at the school I went to. And one day in my freshman year, it was in the cross country season, we were having practice and I was running and I just kind of lost my vision on the sides of my eyes. So I kind of lost my peripheral vision.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. So I kind of yelled to my team captain and they took me to our training room and I started having a really bad migraine and lost my vision entirely.
No way.
Yeah, it was really, really weird experience. So it was almost as if somebody had turned the lights off, and everything went black. And then my body started going into convulsions, and I had what they call seizures. They also say it could be muscle spasms, but they designate them as seizures. But I'm also non-epileptic, so it's kind of a weird, culmination.
Hybrid. It's like a weird hybrid. Yeah.
Exactly. So I can still go see movies and stuff with like flashing lights and not have any problems and play video games and be a nerd, which is great. So there I was in the training room and they rushed me to my primary care physician, which was only like 10 minutes away. And they took a CAT scan of my brain and found a 3-inch mass behind my right eye.
Crazy.
And yeah, I can send you guys the pictures, or they're on my Instagram if you want to see. They're really insane. And they took me to the hospital immediately after that because they weren't really sure at the time what was going on with my brain, if I was having hemorrhaging or if I was like bleeding out in my brain, because the CAT scan isn't a really clear picture. So they took me to the hospital where they gave me an MRI, and then I was immediately admitted into the hospital overnight, and I stayed there for 9 days where they tried a bunch of tests.
Yeah.
And they put me under 24-hour surveillance and videoed my seizures. The longest one I had was about 45 minutes.
Get out straight?
Oh. Yeah. And the seizures I have are only on the right side of my body.
Yeah.
And I'm fully conscious, so I can kind of talk, but I remember everything. But in my 9 days there, I lost all my memory because it was really traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And after I was released from the hospital, they told me that after all the tests they had ran and everything that they had tried to discover about my situation, they weren't really sure how it had happened or what had occurred to give me this situation, but that it was inoperable, that my condition would work. It wouldn't really help me if I would have brain surgery because it's an arachnoid cyst where the mass is behind my eye, but it kind of like has roots that go throughout my brain. It's kind of gross. So it would be way more evasive to try and remove it.
All those nerve endings are not easy to play with.
Exactly. So the mass of the actual cyst is very large outside of like the epicenter. So I just go in and get it checked to make sure it doesn't grow. They said if it does grow, my likelihood of surviving wouldn't be very large just because it is such a big mass. And prior to my admittance into the hospital, so that was December, the August before that, I had 2 concussions in 1 month, and I had gotten a CAT scan just to make sure nothing had happened. And I hadn't had anything in my brain. So from the time of August when I got the CAT scan after my concussions to December is when that mass had formed in my brain. So that's what they think. If it grows, I wouldn't have a high likelihood of surviving. So I just make sure it doesn't grow by going in every 6 months to a year. They moved it to a year now because I've been 5 years now without any growth, and
That's good.
Yeah. It was a crazy experience, and the only thing now I have is just seizures. It used to be every week, and then they slowed down to like every other week, and now I'm around 3 to 5 weeks without a seizure. So it's really great. And I'm really blessed to be here and have a great support system and still lift and work out and do what I really love to do. And just a wild, crazy thing that just randomly happened to me.
Yeah, no, I grew up with my dad had epilepsy, so I understand about seizures. Even though yours are different, but it's still like your body convulsion is no fun at all.
Yeah, it is the craziest thing. And being in sports, this happened in my freshman year, but I had my full ride scholarship, so I continued to run. And one of the things that triggers my seizures is stress. So whenever I was an athlete, I'm really hard on myself, and I'm a really type A personality, so I'm very driven. And being on the team, I was team captain after my freshman year. I pushed myself on my practices, and even having this condition, I would still compete. A lot of the times I would race, and I might, I'd run the 800 on the track. I might get 1 lap in and still have a lap to go and end up falling on the track and having a seizure episode on the track. So some days I'd, finish a race and place in the top 3, or some days I wouldn't finish at all. It's just like a mixed bag, and you never really know what hand you're dealt, but you kind of just keep pushing forward and try to make yourself better every day despite.
Yeah, that's what we loved about your story is like, most people would have been like, well, done, no more sports or no more. I'm just gonna eat food and not work out. And we can attest to this watching your Instagrams. You can outlift me and Jay together. Like you were killing it. Like I'm like my goal is to be as strong as Melissa. I already tell that to Jay every day. When I'm at the gym and I'll send him pictures of me and I'm like, can Melissa match this? He's like, don't even show her. It's embarrassing.
Oh my gosh, you're hilarious. I try. Yeah, physical activity has been something that's always been really important to me. And I don't compete in running anymore. I tried to pursue a competitive avenue in running and racing after I graduated college because I still loved it, but it was so like the fast twitch muscles and that competitive environment was still a lot of stress for me. That I moved to powerlifting and working out in the gym, which we have a common interest, Johnny.
Not Jay. Yeah,
because
no,
not Jay. But it's really nice because it's actually relaxing, and you can it's more slow twitch muscles, and it's just a great way to push yourself, but still find kind of like that Zen moment. And it's more about you and your own headspace. And so that's been a really good trade-off to still be competitive and push myself, but not have that like high stress moment where, oh, I'm going to go put myself and cross my toes to the edge, but am I going to have a seizure under this like 250-pound bar?
That's dangerous.
So yeah, that's kind of the abbreviated story, but a lot of little things in there. And the hospital journey was like crazy, having to relearn how to like eat and walk, and just a lot of wild things you wouldn't think about. But I'm here, and I'm grateful for every day, and glad to be here.
So do they like drain the cyst at all? Or, will they drain the cyst at all? Like, do they have to kind of like take a little bit out just to try and ease some of the pressure?
Yeah.
Do they do that?
That was one of the things they discussed. They had talked about putting a shunt or stunt. I don't really know what they call it, like right on my temple, because it literally sits like right behind my eye. But one of the fears that they had in doing that, because it is a fluid-filled mass, they worried that the fluid, it would refill and like hemorrhage in one of the other spots, like the veins. So it would like essentially like grow in another area of the veins of their arachnoid cyst. So they just decided, as long as it's not growing, we don't think it would be an issue, just to leave it alone. So, and it was a really cool experience. On one hand, I was in the interterm period where students were just getting off fall semester and getting ready to start spring semester, and KU Medical, some KU Medical students were right across the street from the hospital I was staying at, and a lot of them would come over and do like mini research papers on my condition because I was a really unique case.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually gave me some loan forgiveness and wrote my story and my case study in a book and published my story in a medical journal. And we're like, here, we'll forgive some of your debt for your story. So it was pretty cool to have some people do some actual like medical study. And I feel like I had some special attention given to me, and I had the best care given to me because I had a lot of hands touching my records and understanding what was going on. So I feel like I'm in the best place and was given the best attention. So I trust what they were telling me, and I'm just kind of chugging along and seeing what's happening.
Was it a concussion that caused it? Because you said it was about a 3-month period that grew. Do they think that it was the concussion that ultimately caused it to grow?
Yeah, they don't really know. They don't think that is what happened. A lot of times they say that arachnoid cysts, just in general population, people are born with them. But they said in my case, the interesting situation was because they had the scans in August and my brain didn't have the cyst then. And then in December it did. They know for sure that I wasn't born with it. But they also said there's no way that a concussion could create like birth of cysts like that, or at least they've never seen that at any point in history. So they yeah, I guess that's why they like me to keep coming back for scans, because they're like, what the heck's going on here? So yeah, they weren't really sure why, and I did leave with a bunch of questions, and they still had a bunch of questions, and they really didn't have a clear path or solution other than just keep getting it looked at. But yeah, I had like a ton of cameras, like whenever you go to the hospital and you do an EEG, they glue all these little wires to your head. And I have all these like hours of footage, or the hospital has all these hours of footage of me. And it's just like the weirdest Area 51 feeling thing that I was ever involved in. Yeah.
So what are some of like the life lesson takeaways, that you would kind of share with people after? I mean, because I've never met anyone who is this close to death, or
Yeah.
like where they were just knocking on sorry to use that phrase, but knocking on death's door almost, like, you're right on the line, and you're living and it's scary. Like, can you walk us through that a little bit? Like, where does your mind go?
Yeah, that's exactly what had happened. And I don't like to go right out and say that to people because it scares people, but that is exactly where I was, and still am every day, because not every day is certain. But I do remind people that just because that situation seems so severe for me, that is the same for everyone else. We are all one breath away from the other side. So just because I have a clear-cut reason why mine is so severe, it doesn't mean that life isn't precious for everyone. But the crazy thing was, for me, my current husband, my husband, and I had only been dating 1 month at the time. And his mom had suffered with cancer basically his whole childhood. And when we had first met, he had said, I just want to meet somebody and not deal with illness and not have to grow up and like be in a marriage where somebody's sick all the time. And that we'd been dating 1 month, and I had gotten this. And I remember him driving we were going to the same college, and that's where I met. And he drove an hour every day to meet me at the hospital while I was sick. And I told him, I was like, we've only been dating a month. Like, I totally get with these severe circumstances if you want to, you know, break up with me. But he was so loyal and just loved me so much that he stood by my side and was there all along. And we've been together ever since. And that was, yeah, like 5, 6 years, almost 6 years ago now. So I would just say some of the lessons that I'd learned from that is just take every day, you know, never take a day for granted. And meeting people is so important for me, and having friendships is so important for me because I just relish in people. And like, just for instance, our relationship and meeting you guys and just making 2 new friends. And I think people take for granted just other people so often that it just, having joy in other people means so much. And being so close and not having anything meant that I could pour so much more myself into everyone else when I was given like a second chance. So also that I shouldn't trust in my own strengths. When I was in the hospital and it got really, really hard and I wanted to give up, and I couldn't like eat, I wasn't eating. And that was one of the reasons why I was in there so long, was because I was on so many medications and I couldn't keep my food down. I just wanted to give up. I just learned that human strength isn't as strong as you think it is. And for me, relying on God's strength, I'm a believer. Other people might rely on other people's strength, like family. Just don't rely on your own strength. Like, learn to ask for help. And for me, that was asking for God's help. But if you're asking for family or friends, it's not all on you and all on your shoulders. So don't ever be afraid to ask for help. That was another big thing. So just every day is a gift, and every minute's a gift, and every person you meet is a gift, and just live in joy and gratefulness. So I just try to be a joyful person and live that way every day. And that was like a huge thing for me, because I think before that I was kind of floating along in life and taking things for granted. And even sometimes today I'll do that and have to recheck my heart and remember the time that I, you know, have been given. And I don't know, it's just a reflective thing. So that's what I would say I'd learned. Sorry,
well, I can
that was
truly say
long.
you're a gift to us, Melissa. I'll say this.
Oh,
To
thanks.
put up with our nonsense and to know more than us is a gift. Like, we really do enjoy it. Like, we'll be like, oh, let's talk to Melissa about this. Oh, we just read this. Let's tell Melissa about this. Let's get
You
her
guys are
opinion.
awesome.
So
I love
we
nonsense.
enjoy it.
Oh, it's great. No, we just scheduled a call with Hayes McCure, who's an actor who's been on like New Girl. He plays a big role in the movie Just Mercy. And the first person we told, like, outside of our like families was, we instantly like texted Melissa like, check it out.
So
Bragging
cool.
rights.
So
kind of.
awesome. I'm so proud of you guys.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll end this video portion. This was kind of for YouTube. If you want to hear the rest of our cast with Melissa, go ahead and jump on all of our streaming stuff.
And follow Melissa on, what's her social media, Melissa, so people can be inspired by you?
It's Strides and Strength.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.